entitled people grow up and have children. Our first post is by Jack1978. Weird woman believes sailboats are public property. I am a 43-year-old IT guy, divorced with 2 kids, a girl and a boy, 9 and 7 respectively. I'm a member of the yacht club and own a small-ish 34 Bavaria cruiser from 2008. Next to my kid, she's my pride and joy. Every year I take 3-week vacations along with the kids, and we go cruising for the better part of those 3 weeks. We have a small dinghy that basically serves as our pickup truck/food haul. Now, because of COVID, we couldn't go anywhere outside our home country, so we said, F it, we'll be tourists in our own country, and went for a cruise to all the small, cozy harbors we normally don't see. So, cruise is a go. My son knows about the lines and knows how to dock and whatnot. My daughter is the dinghy skipper during this. She loves that thing. We also have our club pennants flying as well as a Jolly Rancher. Jolly Roger. Jolly Roger means kids on board, come play. We leave our home port and spend a day and night at sea to get the sealy legs growing and sharpen up on our boating drills. Retired Navy, can't help it. On our 3rd day, we arrive at a smallish marina, roughly 200 berths. In my country, calling ahead on VHF is not a thing, so the only thing to do is either go in with the boat or send in the dinghy to spot for a berth. Now, occupied berths are marked with a red sign. Available is a green sign. My kids know this and also are learning to spot a flirting berth. Our boat is 3.6 meters wide and berths are different in width. So, the trick is to spot a berth wider than 3.6 meters, but not wider than 4 meters, because that's the golden difference. Any berth wider than 4 meters gonna cost a lot of money, and meant for bigger boats. Well, Captain Dinghy was volunteering, as always, to scout ahead while I and the XO were watching from the outside the inlet. She's equipped with, of course, a life jacket, radio, not VHF, since that requires a certificate, and a good idea on how wide 3.6 meters really is. Our dinghy happens to be 3.5 meters long, so as long as she can fit the dinghy from end to end between the ports, it fits, including the engine. Now, most people that hang around marinas are used to seeing children in dinghies and won't raise an eyebrow over a 9-year-old in a small dinghy wearing a life jacket and looking for empty berths. However, not all people are like that, which we'll soon find out. She found one and radioed that back saying, "I got one, Daddy. It's a Jeep here, and I'm waiting for you here over." I replied with, "Good job. En route now. Daddy out." The owners of the boats were on either sides of the carrying. Nice older couples, and especially the portside neighbors, are completely stunned by Captain Dinghy and her professionalism. They are small-talking when we arrive at the berth and help mooing, which I pay with a cold beer and soda for the kids. Happy days all around. On the opposite side of the pier, a couple of boats are also flying to Jolly Rogers, so the kids are off after a quick lunch. The berth directly opposite us is also available, but knowing from experience that will soon change. And how right I was. Later in the afternoon, we saw the arrival of HMS Karen and her sailing circus. They arrived after the nice grandparents next door and were discussing nice marinas to visit, and as a matter of course, we stood by to help receive lines and help with mooring. To simplify their docking, it was a poop show. They had a trimaran, 3 hulls, and the other 2 can retract when you dock and extend when you sail. They knew nothing about the boat, so clearly a rental. After 5 or 6 attempts of docking with, one side retracted, other side retracted, no side retracted, full power plus screaming all around. The harbor master even came down to join us. Now, we were standing 8 guys plus 1 harbor master just looking like, what the F are you doing? Even my 7-year-old son comes by with new friends and going, are they for real? Grandma ports quickly, provides some ice and soda for the kids. She was amazing. We managed to convince them, the wrecking crew, to throw us the forward line, and we could pull them in. After they retracted both pontoons, this took the better of 1.5 hours. When they finally docked, they acted like they invented boating. I know that docking in a foreign port can be difficult, but when you need 8 people to help you, one might keep a low profile. Not that couple though. They're completely clueless on how to get shore power, water, and how to register with the harbor master, who happens to stand right in front of them when they docked. The harbor master is now trying to guide how to register, what to do regarding to shore power and water, and boy did they listen. HMS Karen started a full yell about how they paid a lot of money to rent their boat and how they expected the harbor fees to be included in the rent. And they threatened to report the harbor master to the rental company they used and get him fired for trying to extort money from them. After an endless monologue, there were about 8 to 10 guys laughing. The harbor master just looked at them and went, "Okay, these are the rules. Each marina requires a fee for docking. That fee covers power, water, and the space you occupy. It includes access to the bathrooms, cooking facilities, and cleaning. The rental company does not own any marina. Is that clear?" The circus husband understood but failed to convey the last part to HMS Karen, something we found out the next morning. The next morning, we prepared to go underway. Kids are saying goodbye to their new friends. My son is pampered with cookies from Grandma, Port, and Starboard. Broken hearts in the young girls in the marina. He's got blonde hair with curls and green eyes. A heartbreaker. And Captain Dingy is getting ready to go underway. She's dressed in a uniform for the part. Unicorn pajama pants, swimwear, and life jacket. Here's where the title comes into play. We're finishing our stay, meaning pulling our shore power cable, testing lights and systems, testing our bow thruster and prop. VHF and Diggy. While I'm standing at the stern, ready to single up the lines so my curly-haired XL will have an easy job, HMS Karen comes running up to me. "What are you doing?" "Good morning. We'll get underway now. We're going to the island that was recommended by Grandma Port. Enjoy your stay here." "What? You can't leave?" I'm pretty sure I can. Why wouldn't I?" "Because we want that boat." "What? You want my boat?" "Lady, this boat is not for sale, so excuse me, we have to go." "No, all boats are property of the rental company. We called them yesterday and chartered that boat. Now hand it over or else." "Lady, you're nuts." Now, we're not attached to the marina anymore, and my son is rolling up the boat lines when HMS tries to grab the push put to keep us in the marina. Well, she lost that battle. Me. "I'll stop, man overboard." She came up yelling and screaming. Starboard Granddad guided her on board to their boat and asked her what the heck she was doing, while Port Granddad called the harbor master. "Is she okay?" "Yeah, we got her. Enjoy your trip. We'll see you in the port." We leave and head for port, and oh boy did I hope she was a one-time Karen. I'll write part 2 when I get back from the boat, drawing pillows, cushions, sails, and not is a real B word. Well, I'm going to do that post after. I'm pretty sure there are 4 parts of this, so I'll just do all 4 parts in this video. All boats are public property, huh? Gee, I should go down to a place with a lot of sailboats. It's public property after all. Our next post is by the same OP. This is part 2 of the same story. "I'm so sorry about the delay. A friend just joined the Club of 22, so I wasn't up to anything other than mourning the loss of a dear friend." There is link to part 1. When we left the marina and recovered Captain Dingy and the dinghy, we set sail for an island suggested by Grandma Port. The sail was pretty uneventful. My 7-year-old son caught a fish, and a nice 2-kilogram cod equals dinner. Next morning, we had an equally uneventful docking next to a nice young couple that were on their first cruise in their parents' boat. A nice 30-foot boat, beautifully maintained, but the marina had floating docks we reversed in and lowered the stern. After the usual post-docking exercises, fender, lines, power, and check-ins, we greeted the young couple next to us and checked out the marina. Jolly Roger still flying, so there was a couple of young pirates, waiting to see who the new recruit to the playground was. After a quick lunch, the kids were off. I was about to shut off the stationary VHF when I heard a call from the Coast Guard advising all mariners to keep a lookout for a stolen boat in the area, with the description vaguely matching my boat, as well as a couple of 100 others. It's not something that happens every day, but it happens that a few human beings are confused about the mine and not mine concept, so I took a note of it and turned off the VHF. At about 1600 hours at 4 p.m., I recognized a boat coming in and was pleased to see Grandma Port from the first post standing at the stern looking for a spot. I hailed them and saw a spot opposite ours with a red tag. A quick call to a local harbor master later. It was owned by a local, but it was available for 2 weeks. They just forgot to turn the plate. 15 minutes later, both of them were sitting in the cockpit of my boat having a drink with our new friends from next door. Now, this is Grandma's port story. After we left, they got HMS Karen into dry land, and she was raging that we tried to kill her and that we had stolen our own boat, and that she would throw us into a prison cell and throw away the key. Grandma Port was giggling and told her to calm down, that she did that to herself, and what was she thinking grabbing a boat pulling out. Grandma Port told her to get on their boat, change into something dry, and enjoy herself, instead of making a fool of herself in front of her circus husband and their chilled child. Now, I never saw the child, but apparently they had a toddler with them and without a life jacket or vest in sight. As one does, I checked into the book of faces, and about 15 minutes later, I got a text from a guy I used to work with back in the Navy asking if I could supply a cold beer in about 10 minutes when he got off shift. One short trip to the mast and flags, Bravo, Echo, 1, sup. Romeo was flying. My friend arrived in uniform and asked where the heck his beer was at. We have known each other for the better part of 20 years, so I expected to get the "where the heck have you been" shipmate back. After the hugging and the "how the heck are you" talk, I introduced him to my friends and the grandparents. He definitely had Grandma Port on his good side because of the uniform. Even Grandpa Port started telling stories from back then in the Navy. I never told them that I did other than IT, so they didn't know about my naval background, and was quite amused when my old friend told them I was his old petty officer. After the second round of flags, I told the call earlier from the Coast Guard. He's a chief petty officer at the nearby coastal watch station. And the way our Coast Guard and Navy works is the Navy is in charge of the sea, but the Coast Guard enforces inside coastal waters. And oh boy, he got a call from the local police reporting the theft and possible hijacking of a sailboat from the last port, as reported from an enraged woman. A description of a boat similar to ours, and that the harbor master knew about it. Grandpa Port just left half of his drink through his nose when he heard that, and started to raise his voice at my friend in my defense, and told them what actually happened, that HMS Karen was nuts, and she tried to grab my boat after we pulled out of the slip, and that she was a completely waste of air. Thanks, Grandma. Grandpa: that was you? I don't know. Oh my god, that was you. So now, no worries. I'll call it off and talk to my captain in the morning. Great. Noticing a police officer walking towards our boat. Can you do it now? Now, have anyone ever heard the phrase, "the Navy is a small place"? It turns out that my friend was the officer's instructor at boot camp, and I was his. Sorry, Chief, are the Navy handling this? Hi, OP, how are you? Care to explain? Well, we had a report of a theft on a boat, and the harbor master told us a boat fitting description pulling in this morning. Well, let's check this out, shall we? OP, you have your certificates and proof of insurance and ownership with you, right? Sure. And I hand the police officer my binder of certificates. Well, nothing to worry about here, but by you, any chance I've seen the boat in question? Before I say anything, Grandpa Port interjects. Officer, if that report came in from a wet, loud, and wide woman, I have a story to tell you. And he explains the story. Okay, Chief, are you backing this up? Sure you wouldn't go another go at the pit at a boot camp. Right, Chief. Sorry to bother you guys, but you know how it is. He left us that and turned things back to normal. Kids got home, dinner, bedtime, sundown, with the neighbors who now had a lot to talk about the next morning. So that's part 3. I'll do that later I'll do that later. But it'll be our next story. Don't worry about it. Next post is by the same OP, and it is part 3 of the Weird Woman saga. Thank you all so much for the rewards, updates, and kind comments. I never thought my crazy vacation with the kids could be so interesting to so many. Thank you. As mentioned in part 1, my boat is a Bulgaria 34 cruiser. It used to belong to my grandparents, but when my grandma had her stroke back in 2012, my granddad stopped sailing. They passed in 2013, 3 weeks after each other. My granddad wasn't ill or anything. He just gave up after Grandma passed after her third and last stroke. Before they passed, they willed the boat to me, because my parents already have a boat. They knew that I love sailing in her, so it's not that I'm a rich, spoiled brat who just got a boat, but there are many emotions involved when sailing her. I grew up spending summers on their old boat, learning from both Granddad and my dad how to sail, which eventually led me to my naval career, ending in my retirement from the Navy when I turned 35 and my contract expired. The point being that I always need to convince myself if Grandma would approve if I tried to change something or upgrade it. In my mind, it's still their boat in some ways. This year, I spoiled the boat rotten and myself by buying a new chart plotter that integrates all sensors: depth, sounder, Windex, autopilot, and AIS. AIS is a system that shows information on other boats as well as your own, similar to what airplanes use. As we already planned to stay for at least 4 days, I thought that this would be perfect time to upgrade my existing charter pilot for the new one. And as luck was still present, Grandpa Port was an electrician before he retired. So off to the supermarket I went to purchase of liquid monies to pay said electrician that I just hauled out of retirement for a day. Now, the marina we stay in is rather large, meaning that I either have a long walk followed by a heavy walk back, or I have Captain Dinghy give me a lift to the old port, so off we went. Her at the helm, I'm at the front acting as Balzac. My son was with friends and knew his way around. Also, he knew who had an abundant supply of ice cream available. Thanks again, Grandma Port. We arrived to the supermarket and all is well, and then my daughter just lets out a "Aw, F." It's HMS Karen yelling at her poor circus husband because apparently the item she wanted is sold out. I'm not a fan of my children swearing, but this time I think she was on point, so I let it slide. We ducked the heck out of there and went to check out when we found a small gift basket-style arrangement with a bottle of wine and some chocolate for Grandma Port, the liquid monies, and a small refill for the pantry. When we had bagged everything, we left for the dinghy. If only we had run the red light at the crosswalk outside the supermarket. Hey, you! Me too, my daughter. Not happening. Now you get in the dinghy, get your life jacket on, and throw me the rope we use to get goods abroad. Dad, she's nuts. I'll hook your life jacket up as well when I throw the rope. Hey, I'm talking to you. You're the guy who stole our boat. Don't even think about moving. I'm not letting you get away. Lady, the mental hospital is not far from here. I'm sure someone there is able to help you. So I put on my life jacket and I lower the goods into the dinghy, and all I need to do is get into the dinghy via the ladder. Then I suddenly found myself floating in midair right next to the dinghy because she pushed me. The maniac pushed me off the effing boat. Our life jackets are the manual type for adults, which means I have to pull a cord for it to inflate. The kids' vests are automatic, means they inflate when they get wet. There's a small chalk tablet that dissolves in water to make sure they inflate, but it still means I have to unwrap it, test it for 24 hours, then repack it. Also, that means I'm one life vest short for 24 hours. I have to replace the CO2 cartridge because it's been in water. No biggie, it's like $6. And I have a small supply on board the ship. But it's the principle. 2 steps up the ladder and I'm on board the dinghy. My daughter was amazing. Start the engine and used to push the boat into the ladder, so I'm on board in no time. What are you doing? Don't even try to escape, and you, little girl, don't think about trying to touch anything. That's nice. I reversed out and floored out to the old deck. On our way to our marina, my daughter just shook her head and said, "What a B word." Again, she's on point, so I let it slide. Back in the marina, we tied up our boats and I got a change of clothes. The only casualty was my work phone, so I have to get back in town to get a new one. Luckily, it's a work expense, but it's a B word with configuring everything, including credit cards and such. And I'm sorry, but I have to finish this in part 4. It's not out yet, so I might do it, might not. Who knows? maybe if I actually do an entitled parents video later words. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I post videos as often as I can. So, peace out.